Hello, thank you for watching. Who would have thought I would be doing my first Q&A from my grandmother's garden, but these times are strange and this is all we have for now. So I received a few questions which I will try to answer now. What you've just seen is the very first broadcast of my very first short film, so this is very exciting for me. It took me some years to complete, although it's only 15 minutes long. I discovered my passion for filmmaking as I was doing other things, and I mostly learned by doing. I took some courses, but I mostly just tried and made a lot of mistakes, and eventually managed to make this little film, Guerra, Tiza, Tiempo. The project began in 2015 as part of a documentary course I was taking in Buenos Aires that required us to make a few shots in a location of our choice. I chose the Impa factory because of its aesthetics, the old machines, the dust, the spider webs and the lights, but also because of its interesting story. It's the first of an important movement of recovered factories, so you can read up on that in the internet if you want. Hugo, the main character. So I met Hugo as I was trying to carry out some interviews in the factory. We chose people quite randomly, and we were thinking of mostly asking about the history of the place. And with Hugo, it turned out very differently, and this is the beauty of it. So he preferred to tell us about these two workers who are gone than to tell us about what we already knew, what had happened and the power struggle there, the political situation. So in a way, he was one of the directors of this project. He decided what had to be told. So these two stories of these two men who are no longer with us, but who left their traces in the factory. I was very moved by Hugo's personality and by his willingness to keep the objects and the presence of his old colleagues around him, even of a colleague that no one actually liked very much. So there we were with two stories that were told that we heard for the first time as we were filming them. So with all the material on my hands, I wanted to make a film out of it, but as it had no script and there were lots of technical flaws in the material, I didn't know if it would be possible. I tried to go back into the factory later on to film more, but was denied access. So this was both a blessing and a curse. It was in the beginning limiting, but then I realized this was actually maybe the only way I was going to ever finish something because it's just so hard to put a final stop when you're creating. So I started to write a story, to think of a way to tell the story. I was helped by my friends and teachers who suggested me to use a voiceover to be able to weave everything together because it was very difficult otherwise. There were so many more stories in the factory that Hugo wanted to tell us and that he would have liked to share. Stories about many other people who were gone and whose memory was kept, mostly by Hugo. The story of the ghosts that press the button of the elevator before you get a chance to do it yourself. It's really such a rich place. A place rich in history and spirits spirits of those that are gone. So the essence for me is the message we could say is the change of in paradigm that occurs after a factory is removed from the conventional capitalistic logic. We could apply this to in a broader sense in our life. You remove the boss, you change power dynamics, and it's no longer about making the biggest profits without giving importance to the humans working inside. It becomes about making the work serve the people who do it, instead of it being the other way around. The importance Hugo gives to the objects left by people who are gone shows this mindset. Making this film has been a beautiful adventure, starting with images and sounds, finding the story, and trying to make something of it all. I was often told that the way I do things is not the way things should be done. This is not the way people make films. You should start with a script, make a schedule, have a technical crew, have a budget. And what I did was quite the opposite, going without a plan, usually by myself, and having to make a patchwork of the bits and pieces I had. It took a lot of time. I had to open my mind to forms of storytelling I hadn't considered. In the end, I realized there is not a right way of doing things, and you shouldn't listen to the people who tell you there is. So a message to the aspiring filmmakers out there: if you feel compelled to tell stories through film, you should do it in a way that inspires you and with the resources you have. It's so wonderful to be able to translate so many impressions and thoughts into a work of images and sounds. I'm thrilled to share my work with you. I hope you'll watch a lot more films at this Star Fest, half online Star Film Fest. A long distance hug from the south of France.